Psalms chapter 84 and verse 10. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. So one day in the kingdom of heaven is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side, man. Let me repeat that again. One single day in the kingdom of heaven is better than 1,000 of your best days on this side, man. Okay? Where things were better for you. Moments that you can reminisce on and say, yeah, that was a good day. The kingdom of heaven blows it out the park, man. It blows it out the water. Just one day. Not to mention, the Heavenly Father, He's going to stretch out the time. He's going to expand the time so you can enjoy your immortality. You can enjoy your life. And the Lord said in Wisdom of Solomon, He created the Israelite man to be an image of His own eternity, man. We're going to be a likeness of His own eternity, man. We're going to be many most highs, man. Most highs. Okay? God's on earth. Under Yahweh Shemiah Shah.
I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
And also what's going to make us gods? These laws, statutes, commandments, and us judging by the laws, statutes, commandments, but also these laws being in our inward parts, making us those perfect judges. Not to mention, we experience these different reincarnations in this wicked flesh, so we know how to judge the flesh. We know how to judge this body because we've been in this body many times. Okay? But once again, the kingdom of heaven is going to be patterned after the mind of Yahweh Shemiah Shah, man. A righteous paradigm.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation, hopefully out there pushing His word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. All right. What I want to go into today is a continuation of the book of 2 Kings. All right, we made it to the second chapter, and in this chapter, we're going to go into the account. Elijah, is taken. Okay, the Lord, translate. Is going to translate Elijah, just as He did Enoch. Okay, the two people in the Bible, the two characters in the Bible, the two men in the Bible. All right, that didn't die. All right, but was translated with Enoch. Okay, and Elijah. Okay, and during this process, we're going to see Elisha, okay, be ordained to pick up where Elijah, all right, left off. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's go here to 2 Kings, second chapter. Okay, and it's a few, nuggets in here that we can expound on, and edify, pertaining to, us today. Now, when you go into 2 Kings 2:1, you get in the NLT. All right, it's 2 Kings 2:1 in the NLT. It says, when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were traveling from Gilgal. And Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, for the Lord has told me to go to Bethel. But Elisha replied, surely as the Lord lives, lives and you yourself live, I will never leave you. So they went down together to Bethel. Verse 3, it says the group of prophets, all right, from Bethel came to Elisha and asked him, did you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today? Of course I know, Elisha answered, but be quiet about it. And it just shows you that, there was always, prophets all throughout, Israel. Okay, and the scriptures, go into, the story and account of specific prophets, but there was always, a company of prophets amongst Israel. Everyone had their own portion. Okay. It said, verse 4, it said, then Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, for the Lord, all right, has told me to go to Jericho. But Elisha replied again, as surely as the Lord lives and you yourself live, I will never leave you. So they went on together to Jericho. Then the group of the prophets from Jericho came to Elisha and asked him, did you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today? Of course I know, Elisha answered, but be quiet about it. Then Elijah said to Elisha, stay here. The Lord has told me to go to the Jordan River. But again, Elisha replied, as surely as the Lord lives and you yourself live, I will never leave you. So they went on together. So Elisha, you know, he was dedicated. All right, he was committed to being with Elijah. He was pretty much like an apprentice to Elijah. All right, and wherever Elijah went, okay, Elisha was there. All right, just as the scriptures speak about, let's go here. Okay, this is Revelation 14 and 1. Let's get this in the All right, it remind me of this scripture. This is a Revelation 14 and 1. Okay, and it says, Revelation 14 and 1, it says, and I looked, all right, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. Okay, and this is symbolic of Yahweh Shai and the government of Israel, those 12,000 men from each tribe. Okay, it says, and I heard a voice from heaven, and a voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn their song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Okay, so when it comes to this doctrine, okay, which we have 100% of the doctrine given to us by Yahweh Bashem Shai, the complete understanding. All right, and the members of that 144,000 understand this song perfectly. Okay, that's why we're able to sing it. Okay, with skill. Because the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Shai has allowed us to know this song perfectly, man. Okay, verse 4 said, these are they which were not defiled with women, speaking of philosophies and doctrines. Okay, which can be likened to what a strange woman, for they are virgins in the spirit. Okay, those men would never go astray. They will be faithful to, all right, the true doctrine of Yahweh Bashem Shai. No other doctrine would penetrate them after, they were awakened. Okay, so the true doctrine. It said, these are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto the Most High and to the Lamb. So you see, as Elisha, he just glued to the hip of Elijah. Well, in the spirit, we're glued to the hip of Yahweh Shai. All right. However, the spirit of Yahweh Shai move, that's how we move. Okay. The spirit of separating from this world. All right, being occupied in prophecy. Okay, even the persecution that's going to come. Okay, with following Yahweh Shai. All right, we follow him wherever he goes, man. Okay, and we know it's going to lead to ultimately victory over beasts and an everlasting righteous kingdom. So let's get this word follow. See what it give us. It might give us something. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get this word follow in the Greek.
Strong's G 190. Akalutheo.
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 All right. It says to follow one who proceeds, to join him as an attendant, accompany him. It says to join one as a disciple, become or be his disciples, man. Because we have to be disciples, which the scriptures speak about what wisdom, okay? Trying her with what her discipline, okay? Because we have to be disciplines of, all right, disciples of Yahweh Shai, and then we're sent forth. The disciples, they had to learn a certain level of disciplines, and then they were sent forth. Okay, and it's the same for us, man. When we come into this thing, we're tried, okay, by the discipline of the scriptures, and then we're sent forth. Let's find that real quick, and I believe is that it's Rock, the fourth chapter. I want to say, let's see. All right, so when you get this book, the book of Sirach, chapter 4. All right, so this is speaking of wisdom, okay, and we know that as we follow Yahweh Shai, we're following wisdom, okay, and it says, this is Wisdom of Solomon 4:15, not Sirach 4:15, so like it says, whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations, and he that attendeth unto her shall dwell securely. If a man commit himself unto her, he shall inherit her, and his generation shall hold her in possession, man. So following this wisdom is going to lead to us judging the nations, man. You know, tapping into this wisdom and being obedient, through faith is going to lead us to being judges over the nations, man, in righteousness, man. And we're beginning to possess. See, this is the generation of Israelites that's possessing wisdom. See, the generation before us didn't have it. The generation before that, our parents, great grandparents, their great parents, their great grandparents, they didn't have this wisdom. So this the generation that the Lord allowed to begin to possess, okay, the wisdom, okay, of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, the wisdom of the kingdom. Okay. It says, for at the first you will walk with him by crooked ways, and bring fear and dread upon him, and torment him with her discipline, until she may trust his soul and try him by her laws. Okay. Then will she return the straight way unto him, and comfort him, and show him her secrets. Okay. So wisdom tries us by her discipline. There's a discipline that comes with this wisdom. Okay. And once, we begin to prove ourselves, discipline, then she opens herself up more to us. Wisdom opens itself up more. Okay. But that comes with following this thing. You got to be tapped in. Elisha, and he was tapped in, with Elijah, man, because the spirit of the Lord was heavy, okay, on Elijah. Okay. So going back to the book of Second Kings. All right. Back to Second Kings, the second chapter. And then all these prophets knew that Elijah was going to be taken, showing you that just like the same spirit is dealing, with the body of prophets today. Okay. The same spirit was dealing with these prophets, back then, because they all knew. Okay. Just like we're all in the know when it comes to particular prophecies and topics and, certain lingos. Well, they was all in the know when it came to this situation dealing with Elijah. Okay. And it says, then Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, okay, for the Lord has told me to go to Jordan River. But again, Elisha replied, as surely as the Lord lives and you yourself live, I will never leave you. So they went on together. So jumping down, verse 7 says, 50 men from the group of the prophets also went and watched from a distance as Elijah and Elisha stopped beside the Jordan River. Then Elijah folded his cloak together and struck the water with it. The river divided, and the two of them went across on dry ground. And I believe that's the third time that the Lord split, a river. Of course, the most famous account is dealing with Moses, okay, and the children of Israel fleeing Egypt, okay, Then you had during the time of Joshua, okay, the Lord split, okay. I think there was the Jordan, you see. And I think this is the Jordan again, which he gave Elijah the spirit, to split the Jordan River, okay, showing you that the Lord, all right, hey, gonna make a way. And it says, 2 Kings 2:9 says, when they came to the other side, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me what I can do for you before I'm taken away. And Elisha replied, please let me inherit a double share of your spirit and become your successor. You have asked a difficult thing, Elijah replied. If you see me when I'm taken away from you, then you will get your request. But if not, then you won't. As they were walking along and talking, suddenly a chariot of fire appeared, drawn by horses of fire. It drove between the two men, separating them, and Elijah was carried by a whirlwind into heaven. So this is chariot, and it says it was drawn by horses of fire. So this was just, it was like a squadron of chariots. Okay, they was in a particular formation in this one chariot. All right, what happened? Because it said it divided the two men. Well, like they have like what you call their beam. So their beam came and took Elijah, and it separated him from Elisha. Okay, there was a dividing. So their beam came down out of their chariot. Okay, and it separated the two men. Okay, but it wasn't a horse, actual horse chariot, and horses, made of fire pulling the chariot. No, it was a squadron came through. Okay, and you had those chariots in the front, and their main chariot that came to get Elijah. Okay, which dropped that beam down and separated the two men and took Elijah. Okay, um, so let's go here because that's the pictures, that Christianity will show you. Matter of fact, see if we can find. Uh, let's see, you know, images of the chariot that took Elijah. Oh, let's see. Hmm. See if we can pull this up real quick. At least they did have them Jake though. So let's show this picture real quick because this is how Esau tried to paint that picture of their chariot, but we know what the chariots are now. Because I know when I was in the church, it's the image I had in mind. When this account. So you see this here, okay? This image, like they had horses that was actually made of fire, but they do have Elijah and Elisha, okay, dark skin and Jake, okay, but no, they were speaking of the chariots, okay, that we know of. All right, today what they call UFOs, okay. So you have the squadron, with those bright chariots in front, and their main chariot came and dropped their beam on Elijah and took him up. Well, this is the picture, okay, that they'll show you in church, okay. But we know the chariots are today, all right, and the chariots, okay, are on deck today. The chariots show themselves today, and they're gonna come through. And how Elijah and Enoch were taken up, that's how the elect are going to be taken up, all right, and reserved from this destruction, okay. I just want to show that image. So let's go back to Second Kings. All right, this is Second Kings and chapter 2, verse 12. It says, Elisha saw it and cried out, my father, I see the chariots and charioteers of Israel. And it says, and as they disappeared from sight, Elijah tore his clothes in distress. Elisha picked up Elijah's cloak, which had fallen when he was taken up. Then Elisha returned to the bank of the Jordan River All right. He struck the water with Elijah's cloak and cried out, "Where is the Lord Yahweh Bashim al Shai, the power of Elijah?" Then the river divided and Elisha went across. So Elisha was able to divide, the river. And that was showing that the Lord, he was ordained, with the spirit of Elijah, because Elijah had just did it. So he was able to duplicate what Elijah just did through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim al Shai. And that was a token, okay, that the spirit of Elijah was now on Elisha. Okay, it says when the group of prophets from Jericho saw, all right, from a distance what happened, they exclaimed, "Elijah's spirit rests on upon Elisha," and they went to meet him and bowed, all right, to the ground before him. Now, this is Elisha, all right, being ordained, okay, and just as today, because you go here, um, let's get a few precepts. Let's get this in First Timothy. All right, it's the book of First Timothy, chapter 4. Okay, let me see KJV. All right, this First Timothy 4 and 14. Well, I started 13. It says, "Till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, and to doctrine." Okay, I ain't being tapped in, because reading, puts a spirit on us, man. Reading is the most potent way to keep us in the spirit, man. We can never, abandon our first love and just, reading, giving attendance to that reading, always making time, to read something, man. It's more about consistency. It had to be, a marathon reading session, but the consistency of reading, goes a long way. All right. And it keeps us sharp in the doctrine, and it keeps us, and it's like medicine in the spirit. It said, "Neglect not the gift that is in thee, which was given thee by prophecy, with the laying on of the hands of the presbytery." Okay. Now, the gift that was given thee by prophecy, all right, with the laying of the hands of the presbytery, which is the elders. Okay. So just as Elijah, he handed the Lord, all right, transfer the spirit of Elijah, into Elisha. Well, the spirit of the apostles and the elders, okay, which is the spirit of Yahweh Bashim al Shai, okay, has been put on the men that follow them. Okay, now they didn't have to physically lay hands on us, okay, but being able to watch these men, to listen to these men, it's just like, them laying hands on us, man, and ordaining us prophets, man. But we had to be prophets, ordained. We had to already be ordained, from the heavens, okay? Because it's not, you don't watch a video and become a prophet. No, the video just draws out, okay, well, we're already ordained to be. These lessons and the teaching and his word, it just draws out what we're already ordained to be. And it's already written in prophecy that the Lord would raise up, men in the latter days, all right, to prophesy the end, okay, of this kingdom, man. It says in Jeremiah, "Here filled Babylon with caterpillars, man." And the caterpillars, what do? They devour, okay? So this word is what devouring Esau's kingdom, through the prophets, man. Okay. So let's go here. It says, "Neglect not the gift that is in thee." So it's already in, if you're a prophet, that gift is already there and it's drawn out, okay, by what other prophets. You see, through the spirit and power, how by Shemal Shah. All right. Just as Elisha was already a prophet, all right, but it was drawn out of him by what? Elijah. All right, through the spirit of Yahweh Shemal Shah. Okay. Verse 14 said, "Meditate upon these things, give thyself wholly to them, that thy profit may appear to all. Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine, continue in them, for in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee." Okay. So the responsibility of a prophet, because once as we've been ordained to be prophets, guess what? Hey, there's a different level of commitment. That's why certain men, okay, because it's not in them, they shy away from the commitment that it takes to be a prophet, man, because it's a different commitment. That's why I said, "Give thyself wholly to them." We don't live regular lives anymore. We don't have the free time that regular men have anymore. Okay, we don't have, we're held to a completely different standard. We're restricted, okay, in particular things. All right. Now each brother got their own office, man, which requires, a time, sacrifice, labor, toiling in this thing. Okay. We don't live the lives of regular men anymore. There's a completely different commitment, when we're called into this thing. Okay. And we have to continue to take heed to the doctrine, making sure that we're on point, man. And this doctrine, all right, this word going forth, man, is sealing the elect for salvation, man. You know, so even going here, uh, just to show what was told to Jeremiah, Jeremiah chapter 1. All right, Jeremiah chapter 1. Just get to the point. It says, Jeremiah 1 and 4 says, Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Before I formed thee in the belly, okay, I knew thee. Okay. So before, all right, the prophet, is even conceived, okay, the Lord, I already know what spirit he is sending down, okay, into their womb. Okay. And it says, And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations, man. Okay, so you have to be a prophet, okay, from the womb, all right, before the womb. You see, because the Lord sends, the Lord chooses what spirits, come back, you know, in the flesh, man and woman. Okay, they do what they do, but it's the Lord that decide what spirit comes back. Okay, what man or woman he allows to come back, the Lord is in control of that. Okay, so the Lord, he sends his prophets back, certain times, all right, for particular purposes, man. You see, but you have to be ordained, an ordained prophet from the foundation of the world, and their spirit is always going to be a prophet when it comes back. All right, the spirit of the prophet is subjugated unto the prophet, man. Okay, so let's go back here to Second Kings 2 again. Read down. All right, it's the book of Second Kings, chapter 2. Um, uh, I read verse 15 again. It says, When a group of prophets from Jericho saw from a distance what happened, they exclaimed, Elijah's spirit rest upon Elisha. And they went to meet him and bowed to the ground before him. Sir, they said, just say the word, and 50 of our strongest men will search the wilderness for your master. Perhaps the spirit of the Lord has left him on some mountain or in some valley. No, Elisha said, don't send them. But they kept urging him until they shamed him into agreeing, and he finally said, All right, send them. So 50 men searched for 3 days, but did not find Elijah. He was gone. He was in the spiritual realm now. You know where they were going to find him. Elijah was still at Jericho when they returned. Didn't I tell you not to go? He asked. He's like telling them, like, it was pointless for y'all to go. Like, we all knew the Lord was going to take them. Okay. Well, verse 19 says, One day the leaders of the town of Jericho visited Elisha. We have a problem, my Lord. They told him, The town is located in pleasant surroundings, as you can see, but the water is bad and the land is unproductive. Elisha said, All right, bring me a new bowl with salt in it. So they brought it to him. Then he went out to the spring that supplied the town with the water and threw the salt into it. And he said, This is what the Lord says, I have purified this water. It will no longer cause death or infertility, man. And you have to think about, how this word, okay, because even the Lord likens us to what? So it was a situation where this water, okay, was causing death and infertility, man. It was very unproductive. Okay, would you look at the different doctrines and philosophies that our people have taken on, okay, Christianity, nigger culture, uh, you have uh, you know, street culture, black culture, all these different things that just have been pollution to our people, man. Unproductive, okay? Doctrines of death, man. So you had this bad water, okay, that was destroying, crops and different things in I think this was Jericho, okay? Was it Jericho? It was a town. Uh, yeah, it was Jericho. Okay, so now as you go here, what does that make us think of, man? Okay, because the Lord will begin to do what in this time? All right, Isaiah 44:1. It says, "But now listen to me, Jacob, my servant, Israel, my chosen. The Lord, all right, who made you and helps you, says, Don't be afraid, O Jacob, my servant, O dear Israel, my chosen one. For I will pour out water to quench your thirst and to irrigate your parched fields. And I will pour out my spirit on your descendants and my blessings on your children." Okay, and we're those descendants and those children on whom these waters are being poured upon, man. For the longest we've been in parched fields, man. I say African American, this nigger culture, plantation Christianity, and you see westernization. Those are parched, all right, parched fields, man. Okay, they produce infertility in the spirit and death. Okay, it said they would thrive like water grass, like willows on a riverbank. Okay, so now we're thriving with this water, man. We're flourishing with this water. We're becoming plush as a people again. It says some will proudly claim, "I belong to the Lord." Others will say, "I'm a descendant of Jacob." Some will write the Lord's name on their hands and will take the name of Israel as their own, man. And this is what's happening in real time. Claiming our heritage back. Coming under the banner of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that authority, okay, and obedience. You see, and what did Yahweh Shai, all right, liken the disciples unto? Okay, you go here to Matthew 5. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 5. All right, Matthew 5:13. It says, "Ye are the salt of the earth." Okay, you see that? Because what did Elisha put in the water, to bring it back to life? Salt. Which salt is a preservative, man. Okay, so it's a potent mineral. But if the salt have lost its savior, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing but to cast out and to be trodden underfoot. Okay, so the elect are likened unto the salt of the earth. And the Lord has sprinkled, the elect throughout the earth, and is bringing life back to, all right, the body, okay, of Yahushua. Is making that water, the doctrines of, is making the polluted waters clean, all right, for the elect. Okay, the way the Lord has sprinkled the elect, all right, the prophets throughout the earth, man, to what? To preserve, okay, the body, okay, and to clean up the polluted waters, okay, of this society, man. Okay, so let's go back here, finish this. All right, this is the book of Second Kings 2, and 22, it says, "And the water has remained pure ever since, just as Elijah said." I mean, it's like as Elisha said. Elisha left Jericho and went to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, a group of boys from the town began mocking and making fun of him. "Go away, Baldy." They chanted, "Go away, Baldy." Elijah turned around and looked at them, and he cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then two bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of them, man. Killed them little bad niggas, man. Okay, and see, mocking the prophets ain't gonna end well, all right, because that's a trend amongst our people now. Okay, and at the end of the day, just to sum it up, it's not gonna end well, man. Okay, because best believe curses is going up every day. All right, and when the Lord unleash, okay, a judgment in the earth, man. All right, it's gonna be a lot of judgment that's gonna happen. All right, and it's gonna be swift and it's gonna be brutal. Okay, it says from there Elisha went to Mount Carmel and finally returned to Samaria. All right, and Samaria was the northern tribes, and you know it's going down amongst them niggas, man. So now Elisha, hey, you get ready. Okay, so that was the point. Lord will. All right, you brothers and you sisters, edify once again. I'm gonna give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessing, salutation, and hope, and shalom.